Mythic Plus leavers finally penalized with new deserter system coming in Season 3. Yes, it's finally happening. There will be consequences for noping out a lot. Mythic Plus leavers are one of the most frustrating things that can happen to your key. The rest of the group doesn't want to quit. Players voice their concerns across social media of the last several expansions, and Blizzard has even taken some previous action on them. At the beginning of War Within, Blizzard added a deserter debuff for all players who leave any group finder dungeon early, and also banned excessive leavers in Season 1. Here's what they have to say about it so far. Don't have all the details. We'll share this as we go live, but as we're we're introducing a Keystone Deserter system. So, the rough summary, there'll be more details there. You need to put up an abandoned vote. Essentially, on a dungeon, if things aren't going well. Vote to abandon. If the group agrees, you disband. There's no harm, no foul to your rating or anything like that. If you're leaving keys too often in this first iteration, we're not going to penalize you on an account level. You'll just be marked as someone who leaves often. You get the mark of shame. So in Group Finder, you're going to see this player quits. Yeah. You will get a mark. If you're on good behavior and you're finishing keystones or using the abandoned system appropriately, you'll lose that mark as well. So, you can lose the mark if you are a good boy or girl. Okay. First iteration, we're going to take a bunch of feedback, but we do view this as a problem. We want to build a tool for players to agree that the key is over. And punish players who suddenly vanish. What's important here is if you do this too often. Okay, this is the key word. Too often. If you leave too often, that's really, really important detail. Because, obviously, you don't want to punish people who just had a DC or whatever. Like, that things can happen where you sometimes, you have to leave and it sucks, but it happens, you know. But it shouldn't be an ongoing thing that you're doing. The Scarlet Letter. I think that this is necessary. What if instead of leave, they'll just AFK? Yes, so there's obviously a possibility that players will grief because they feel they can't leave, so they'll just grief. But I think that falls under griefing. That's already covered in the existing behavior policy, right? That's someone that's griefing, and you should be able to report them, and they will get account action taken for griefing. I don't think that, I think this is not going to be a perfect system, but I do think that it's going to help people have more commitment to seeing this thing through in the Mythic Plus environment. You know, it's going to hopefully make the runs more reliable with random people, but it is going to have, it's not perfect, you know. Definitely, I wish that they could design a system where no one ever gets unfairly punished, but I don't know if that's even possible. If they're trying to address the widespread bad behavior players do, I mean, I can definitely see a situation where somebody DCs and then they have multiple bad groups with just toxic people, and then they get kicked, and it's not even their fault, and that could cause them to accumulate enough strikes to get the mark of shame, even though none of that was really their fault. That sucks. That is really unfortunate, but I think that it's an edge case and hopefully isn't something that's going to be happening that much. I think it's kind of like collateral damage of a system that's trying to improve the overall experience by stopping people from who are habitually leaving, who do this all the time. And I mean, they said they will refine it with feedback, so I do think it's going to be really, really, really effective in discouraging, deterring the leaving in M+. Yeah. The being socially ostracized because of your mark. That, I think that's worse than getting suspended for a lot of people. That's worse because now you have to play with other people that are marked until you're clean of it. I think this is a really strong incentive and it will work really well. And yeah. The big thing is, like, how many times can you leave before you actually get the mark? That's something that they need to figure out and get right, too. It can't be too high and it can't be too low either. You know, I do think that because it's not for one-off, you know, it's for repeated offenses in a short amount of time. It's kind of more of a nuanced approach. So they need to define what they mean. Like, what's the threshold for frequently leaving? What is that going to actually be? That's really, really important to this working or failing. If it's, like I said, if it's too high, it's not going to do anything. If it's too low, it'll punish people unfairly who just had a bad day, had a disconnect or something. But, I also think, you know, a lot of times people like to harken back to, like, the good old days before Dungeon Finder, before Group Finder. And people like to say, oh, well, because it was so hard to find a replacement, it encouraged people to work together more. And I do think that this is going to introduce some more healthy pressure into encouraging people to commit for the run. Because look, it's not even how long is the M+ dungeon? 15, 20 minutes? 30? Like, it's like 15, 20 minutes. Can you, like, try to set aside that time? I don't think it's asking you to, it's not that crazy amount of time for you to try to be there for all of it, or just wait until you can. Because, I mean, it's organized group play. You have to be able to depend on each other, and you have to have some kind of accountability, too. Like, if you hate the idea of not being able to just leave anytime you want, and you want to leave all the time, maybe look at some of the solo content that they're adding, because they're adding a ton of it recently. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to go into the organized group environment where people need to work together and find solutions and not just give up, then you need to be prepared for that. You need to accept that things won't always go perfectly, you know? So, I think it might help. I think it might actively encourage more positive dynamics in a group setting. At least that's my hope. If you know that everybody else is gonna stay, you might be more willing to ask and listen about mechanics. You know, offer advice to people that are having a hard time. Try to work through the challenge instead of giving up. But you will still have vote to abandon. Like, sometimes everybody knows it's not gonna work. So that's good too. everybody might just want to vote to abandon. I mean, we have that feature in FF14. We have vote to abandon, and I have used it many times. Sometimes everybody just wants to go home, and we're done. That's great. But let that be a decision the whole group makes. I think that overall, it's great. It's going to make people stick it out. It's going to protect your time when you're trying to do this stuff. Help, hopefully, get people to leave less. And should lead to a more trust. Better trust. I can trust or do it. What do you think? Yeah. I find the common cause of leaving is after the first bloodlust pull fails. People feel the whole dungeon is off to a bad start. Well, yeah. There you go. That's insane. That's really bad. That's really bad. It just reflects a culture where people don't really want to even see if things could be improved through working together. So I think some pressure to encourage people to do that a little more is going to be good for the health of the game.